Good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings of the universe. Now, with that said, I don't expect this to be a long video, but if for those of you who know me, who knows? But excuse me, I hope you're well wherever you may be. And with all the chaos and everything that's going on, and we all know what happened on the Hill the other day. I'm going to stay away from certain key words, okay? But, we're going to talk in code here if you don't mind. But anyway, we all know what happened on the Hill the other day. And there's a lot more information coming out about certain things. But it's the rhetoric that's being placed upon those people who may have found themselves in a situation like, if I had been on I've been in large crowds before, worked on a carnival, and, you couldn't walk against the crowd. If the crowd was moving in a particular direction, you had to go with it. So there were people who ended up on the hill inside that may not have necessarily like that was their goal to do. You know what I mean? So, but for every person who participated there, has now been branded a mob of thugs. Okay. Now, I think back to the Andrew Jackson days, and I can't remember all the stories, but he basically was, this hillbilly and that took over the White House, and he invited all his friends over, and they just opened up the place, and they had Appalachian music. There was fiddling and picking and barn dances everywhere, and that they say that was one of the worst times in history because he just opened up the place to everybody. He's like, there's America, we all live in America. This all belongs to Americans. And so he said, y'all come in. And he was hated for it, Now, that was back in the 1800s, and Andrew Jackson, in 1814, they took a little trip down the Mississippi, to the Gulf of Mexico. He was, that song. He fought the bloody British in the town of New Orleans, And so along with French and, a bunch of swamp folks whooped their tails, right? And so it was after that he was elected. So he was a war person, and if you've ever been in the swamps, around here, the swamps do not equate to the swamps in Louisiana. I'm just saying, okay? But now for all of the people who are, who were legitimately there at the Hill to be peaceful, and the remarks that they were a gang of thugs, and you look at the crowd, you look at how many people were actually there, and how much thuggery could have actually gone on. I mean, there are pictures of people in the Senate, on the Senate floor. Now, a little can of lighter fluid, and I'm not suggesting this, but my point is, if you were a thug, you could have a little bit of lighter fluid or a box of matches, and you could have really been a thug, So this idea, though, that the rhetoric that's being put out there, though, that a mob of thugs, we have to be careful with how, because now anybody who thinks of anyone who was there, whether they were inside or outside on the Hill, everybody is now been deemed a thug. And personally, if I were to support the protest, but not the actions getting in, but then I become, part of the thuggery, because I'm like, yeah, I think they should have been there. And yeah, there were lots of people there. And if those people were really a mob and were really into thuggery, it would have been a lot different. Okay. No fires were set, all this other kind of stuff. Uh, People were harmed trying to get into the building and so forth. But any type of stampede or anything like that, people are going to get stomped on, pushed, bashed, or otherwise. That's an unfortunate thing. But now they say there was a cop that was killed, and now, so all of a sudden, all the other people are started to come up. Now, 3 days later, there's a cop that's been killed. Was there? Why wasn't that on the news first? But now all of a sudden they're going to uncover this. And my point of this is they're the skullduggery of this mob thuggery. Okay. There's skullduggery in that. They're using words and their own symbols. And see, these people aren't any better than they're all a bunch of thugs. They're a mob of thugs. Wait a minute, we're patriots. The scenes of some of the stuff that I've seen after the fact, it's like people were talking about that they were trying to be respectful and they didn't do a lot of thuggery and damage and so it's like, so wait a minute, a mob of thugs back in the old days of the West or during the Civil War, they would have burned the town down, okay? And as many people as were there who could have been thugs, okay, you follow me with this? They want to group everybody now. So anybody in the future after this, because of the words that they're using, anyone associated with it, whether we agreed with the demonstration but not going in, or whether or not we support the president or not, or because of our feelings and how we felt at the moment, we're a part of the thugs. The skullduggery has made all of us now a mob of thugs. So if any one of us speaks up about this, you think about this, watch what happens. They're going to say, well, you're part of those thugs. You back those thugs that went into the war. You back you know what I'm saying? Now, the words that are coming out, and I was going to do a video later on and do a card reading. And they said, you're going to do a video like in 20 minutes, get ready. So, but in watching the news and listening to back channels, front channels, and seeing what the types of words that they're using, because people associate, things. And so the nominee for the other party, staying away from words, right? So comes out with this, that they're all a mob of thugs. So people moving forward, whether for or against it, regardless of party, that mob of thugs is going to stick. Because it was said in such a way, in the rhetoric and the speech, and that mob of thugs. Okay. Was there a mob mentality? Yes. The thuggery? Well, and so we grade earthquakes, right? So, but do we grade mobs or mob mentality? So the mentality was, it's our house we want in. We are so frustrated, we want in, okay? We've been standing on the porch all this time, we want in. Not to harm anybody or do anything like that. There could have been a lot of instances where people could have taken down, the guards or the, whoever, and use their own weapons on them or something like that. None of that happened. And if it was truly a Wild West mob thuggery going on, you follow me with this? They would have just beat up, tore up, and done a lot of thuggery. So they're overusing these words. But here's the point, though, that because it was such a sensitive matter, it's going to stick in folks' brain. And this is like they're telling me like Hawkeye, go out there and tell these people, warn them of the rhetoric that's going to be used here in the next coming up, because anyone who wants to discuss it, because we're tiptoeing around with our code, right? And the code is simple. There is no code. It's to stay away from keywords. So that, Bob, we love you, by the way. And wow, there's 9 people in here. Hi, everybody. Chloe, Royal Thoth, Ian, how are you? Yes, cleanse. Yes, they literally said that they want to wipe out any of the R Public party, because they're all part of the nastiness. Now, for those of us who have been watching this, I'm 68, right? Going on 90, it feels like. I have not witnessed anything like this since the days of Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy when he was murdered. And the craziness and the nastiness and the, oh my God, the lies and the tenseness of the people on the left and the right. And back then, they called black folks niggers. I grew up in that era, right down here in the South. And the fact that they don't do that anymore is like, maybe in private company, but not even that anymore, which is interesting. But yeah, I use the N word. But that's part of the history of the South. That's what they did. But well, they used the N. No. Anyway, I'm glad they're out of that. But here's the point, though, to this: people have changed, things have changed, the rhetoric has changed. So where back in the day, let's go hang that SOB, and they'd call him the N word, that it's like, well, here we go, and they'd hang him on the courthouse square or up in the clock tower in Colquitt County. Years ago, when they redid the county seat, they went in and tried to set all the clocks. There's 4 of them, one for each face of the building. And they could never get the clocks to synchronize. And the story goes that the reasons that because they hung a person in the bell tower of the county courthouse way back in the day, and he swore that he was innocent and the clocks would never run right, or something like a curse on the building. Well, they quit hanging people in there, thank God. But it is still that building, and there is still those like spiritual attachments. And I've walked around the square, and the clocks are never, ever really right. 2 of them will be right, and the other 2 maybe, but 4 of them to synchronize, no, to this day. Now, they're off only a little bit, but that's not the point. They can't get them to synchronize. So, what used to be and what is now is totally different. So what thuggery used to be, people used to have a picnic out on the lawn, and watch this person get hung, white or black or whatever. But they would have picnics. Hey, now to me that was a mob mentality. Let's go to the hanging, or the lynching. But the other side of the coin is that to me was thuggery. That was downright murder and all this other stuff. But for people to use the mob thuggery on us, they will try to bring up all of these things about this is what a mob mentality would do. They would hang a person and lynch him in the street, or, they would have picnics, in the old days. It was a social gathering. We don't do that anymore. That's not the same kind of mob thuggery that used to occur. But you watch, they're going to relate that. Remember what happened to those mobs in the old days, what they used to do to people and how they, all right. We are not that society now. Did certain things happen? Yeah. Should they have busted in? Probably not. But to the point, though, there was a lot of other stuff going on. And in a way, it sort of needed to be done, They did not vandalize like, this thuggery is, portrayed. So, but people around the world now have these seeds implanted in their brain as to how these others perceive things. Thus, the title of this show. So, without trying to beat a dead horse, as they used to say in the old days, it needs to be pointed out they're going to try to use this mob and thuggery and that kind of thing. And any of us, now I'm not neither Republican or a Democrat. You know, I used to be a lifelong Democrat. I'm an old hippie dude. I'm supposed to be the one that's the Democrat. I'm supposed to be the one with the liberal arts thinking and all this stuff. And I'm telling them both to go to hell, right? You know, we need justice. Are we ever going to get justice? I don't know. You know, after what happened with the elections again here in Georgia the other day, I haven't seen a sign that support the two that got elected anywhere, you know. But anyway, so did they fix the problem or they just cover it up better? You know, I don't know. But there's a lot of chicanery going on. But this name calling is interesting because they are putting words into the universe, which in a lot of ways is a mind control. Okay. So they put this mob of thugs in our heads. And, you know, and I want to say it so many times to where I want to throw up. And then when I say, there they go again, using that terminology or something, you know, it makes me want to throw up because it's like we know how untrue it is. Now, were there circumstances of a mob mentality? Yes. Was everybody involved in trying to break in? No, because there were so many people, they couldn't go anywhere. And when the massive people started moving, there are people who are speaking out going, I didn't have anywhere else to go but in, you know. And we have to, if you've ever been in a big crowd, if they're all going in one direction, you ain't going in the other direction. You know, you're going to kind of flow along in the edge or whatever and try not to get trampled, right? So, but this idea, though, that all of those 100, 200, however many thousands of people were there are now have all been labeled as mob thugs. Consider that. And there are already people saying that any Republicans should be wiped off and should be taken out of office, out of whatever, that it should be, as somebody pointed out, cleansed. Now, when Trump took over 4 years ago, he talked about draining the swamp. And these folks are talking about how they want to bring us all closer together. But anyone who may speak about this event, other than their narrative, so I kind of played their game, right? I put what they said in the title, right? They said it, not me. So am I speaking opposed to it? In a way. But I'm warning everybody, they're going to be using rhetoric that is, to those folks who are not aware, it's going to be the same as an MK Ultra kind of event. Mob thuggery. You know, Republicans, MAGA. Anybody with a MAGA hat on now is now part of the mob. You follow me? So they want this narrative to continue. And we have to just be strong, and stand. I was listening to Roseanne Barr has a channel on YouTube. She was interviewing a friend of hers. And he said, of all things, it's in the hands of the Lord. It's in the hands of God. And that, you know, if we have faith, we'll see soon enough. Now, what else can we really do except pray that if they got a backup plan, that it really is in motion and that it will succeed. And we can do that. You know, if there's a backup plan, please, Jesus, let it come, you know, let it succeed without any bloodshed, you know, without any mob thuggery, you know, as they would call it. So our perception of things has to stay clear. You know, for me, every Democrat is not somebody that believes in Antifa or BLM. I have enough sense to recognize that. Well, you're a Democrat, because it still says that on my voter registration card. And I was like, can y'all take that off? But anyway, it doesn't really matter. But so in this situation that we find ourselves in now, is that how do we want to perceive ourselves? What is our perception? I'm still a patriot. I'm still an American. I'm still, a Native American mix. I'm still 68 and a half years old. I still have long hair. I'm still of a hippie type. I still live down here in the swamp. I mean, these are all facts I can, say, okay, here I am. But in the rest of the world, it's like we kind of have to put faith in it. And from several different back channels, I call it, that they're all saying, be patient, stay calm, and in a certain way, trust the plan. We've heard that line for the last 4 years. We'll see. What else? What other option do we have? But we can say that, you know what? I'm going to say a prayer that these folks really do know what they're talking about, that they really have an understanding, and that there really is a backup plan. I'm going to stick with that. Okay. And I don't want anybody to get hurt over this, but, if it must be, then okie dokie. So, but I find it interesting that they added another fatality to the crisis. Okay. This one being a police officer. And I was kind of shocked, like, what is this 3 days later, all of a sudden somebody else is, we kind of forgot about this guy. What? I'm sorry. But anyway, but it's because the story wasn't strong enough for a mob thuggery type, mentality, that they had to add the cop death. I'm just saying. We'll find out if that really actually happened. There are sites out there that say the woman that was supposedly killed was tweeting things the other day, going, "Yeah, I'm okay, got shot," And what? Wait a minute. Everybody says that she died. Well, but if that's true, then there are folks out there that say she'd been tweeting. So before we go all off on each other, and even for those of us who, maybe we shouldn't have done this, it's okay. Sometimes you get caught up in stuff, and there were a lot of people there. They could have taken that place down brick by brick. They could have gutted the place with as many people that were there. So if there was this mob thinking and this thuggery involved, just saying, it's not what they're telling. It was a riot, was it? I remember the riots of the 60s. I remember the riots in Missouri a few years back. The rioting was them throwing tear gas to keep people from getting, that was the riot, were they trying to kill anybody, hurt anybody? Was anybody throwing rocks, beating on any? No, except them folks against them. You know what I mean? So, the riot, was it really? It would have been a riot. Them folks would have been taken down. You follow me? Was there a little bit of unrest? Sure. But they're making it sound like that the entire United States is fixing to go down the tubes, and they are going to want to control things more because someone was killed on the Hill. A kill on the Hill, Now they've added, like I said, they've added another. So it's like, it doesn't just sound strange. But anyway, I'm a conspiracy theorist. But when you look at the evidence that's obvious, and all of them 100,000 plus folks that were there, you can't shut them all up, okay? You can't take down every video, but that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to, they took the president of the United States and took him off of Twitter and other platforms. Are you serious? What? We got to talk about, I don't care, as much as I dislike Bush and Cheney, they had a right to say whatever they wanted. It was my choice to believe them rat finks or not. But would I have said to censor them? No. Obama and the crap that they were putting out there, him and his boyfriend. Would I like to have, somebody I would love to have, the boyfriend of the last president to, be taken down with her remarks and some of the things. And what? Oh no, but that type is allowed. But our current president, because he still is being shuttered. Are you serious? Really? Now you say, who do I want to believe? Well, remember, if you have any compassion towards those folk, you become a part of the mob thinking and are part of the thuggery. I'm warning you. Now, personally, I don't give a rat's ass. I mean, but I'm going to be careful with the words that I choose. I'm going to dance around their names, but you know what I'm talking about. So, I've talked about speaking in code before, and folks need to start doing that, because AI is watching you. I love you, Bob. Oh, let's all have some coffee, by the way. Wow, there's 12 people here. Barry Chad, how are you? 65 Starlight, wonderful. Yep. 65 Starlight, you're in the UK, is that correct? I think. Hi, Yudby. Yep, that's true, Yudby. Hi, Chloe. Barry Chad, let's see. What's going to happen? There's a lot of stuff out there, and there's a lot of anecdotal evidence, okay, to back up some of what these folks are talking about on the back channels. And it's like, what? Now, we all know that the good old Vatican's been in charge of a bunch of stuff, and people just don't understand about the Jesuits. And I've talked about this before, but I'll give you just a little, 1 minute sort of update. The Roman Catholic Church threw the Jesuits out centuries ago. And who do we have as the current, quote, Pope? A Jesuit. No, this is wrong in so many ways. The Jesuits overtook the Catholic Church, which threw them out centuries ago. But who's in charge of it? Who just had a meeting with all the rich people, ooh, la, 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 right? Okay. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So guess who has they found out it really wasn't China that in this last thing, they ruled out Russia. Oh my God. But what it's boiled down to is that it's coming from Italy and from the Vatican. Not only the money, because what they did was they shut down, supposedly, the money from Soros and all these other families, so that if anything went out to pay for a big event, they would know, right? And apparently things got funded when they thought they had everybody clamped down. And guess where the money trail led? Back to the Vatican. Oh, am I surprised? Oh, hell no. No, I'm not. Because it's a Jesuit controlled thing. And if you do a little bit of homework on the Jesuits, not some nice folks. And there's a quote from Abraham Lincoln written in a letter before he was assassinated. He stated that if it weren't for the Jesuits' interference, there would have never been a civil war. So the Jesuits prompted and did everything they could on both sides to push for the Civil War, because them folks have a higher agenda. I'm telling you, some people think, they're playing the long game that most folks just have not a clue. You're kidding. They've been after this. They've been trying to do this for 2 centuries now, 150, 200 years. Yeah. At least since the Civil War. So for a variety of reasons. But anyway, if folks think, well, it couldn't have been then, guess again. Okay. Yes, it can be possible. So There's a lot of back information, but it was I surprised about to hear the Vatican was involved and has been through information satellites and servers and stuff. They've narrowed this stuff down because they watched it the last time. Now, if all this is true, it's going to be interesting here in the near future, at least. But it's interesting information bouncing around like, aha, we caught them. We took care of everybody else, but we couldn't find out we caught them red-handed. And apparently there are people in Italy that are willing to like, yeah, we were kind of sort of there. And yeah, that can testify to certain things. Now, if they come up dead soon or whatever, but anyway, I mean, they killed their own Pope after 33 days, Pope John Paul I, 33 days after he was made Pope, they sacrificed his ass. And, if you don't think these people aren't heartless and aren't playing the long game, But anyway, yeah, 33 days. He was Pope for 33 days. And they killed his ass. Whoops. And then John Paul II, to carry on in his legacy. And then they tried to assassinate him too. So, but anyway, because he literally had heard from God and was going to try to change the policies of the Catholic Church, and those, the dark priest, if you will, the dark side of that mess said, "Oh no, you ain't," and they tried their best to kill him. That's why the Pope Mobile has a shield around it now, right? So, but anyway, so if people want to talk about conspiracy, yeah, I've always questioned this weirdness. But if you look back over history and just look at what's going on, just don't, you have to take away your opinion. If you go in biased, well, they couldn't have done it. Well, then you're not going to accept the truth. Or if you're going to go in it with, of course they did, here's proof, you're going to miss stuff. So you have to go in as the observer and look over here and look over there and you look over there and you look over there and you take notes, and then you step back and go, well, son of a bitch, whatever that information gets you. So, and if for those of you who haven't done any type of research in that, just Google the Jesuits and some of that stuff, and Albert Pike, for example, and read what he wrote, 140, 50 years ago kind of thing, or maybe it's closer, but anyway, to the point, these people are playing the long game. And we're just in it for the moment, where other people have been aware of the long game a lot longer than any of us, you know what I mean? So with that said, though, we need to send our prayers out. And that's what everybody from Simon Parks and Charlie Ward and David Steele thing and other folks, like through Roseanne Barr. I mean, different areas, different places are speaking out, and they're all agreeing on this, is that we need to have faith, stay patient, and pray that this succeeds, that there aren't, because human nature, any one thing could kind of, flip the switch and do some weird stuff. So let's just send the energy to the universe that, we hope the good guys succeed in this, because otherwise we are already marked as a mob of thugs. And I, quite frankly, I'm the old hippie. I'm the tree hugging hippie, which I still hug trees. I'm the guy that I'm the mean and bad nasty. I'm the hippie, who was into drugs and smoking weed and stuff. Yeah, okay. And I'm going to be the downfall of America. Seriously? Seriously. I mean, because that's what they thought of back in the day of us hippie types, who wanted to move back to the land. And, and many of them hippie types became, successful entrepreneurs, I was a successful engineer until they moved all of the jobs out, down to Mexico and other places. But with that said, though, so we can still have that hippie mentality, but yet be successful, and still work. I worked within the system to try to cut down scrap. I saved a company $1 million one year in useless scrap, and with better tooling and different heat treatments of new types of materials. And I saved them $1 million. Now I didn't get that. I should have asked for 10% as a like a finder's fee kind of thing, but I learned. But anyway, but to the point though, I've been there, seen it, and if for people who work within the system, there can be change. And I was the only Democrat surrounded by Republicans back in the day. And I warned every single one of them when I lost my job. I said, in 6 months' time, you'd all be standing where I'm standing. It took 8 months, but every one of them lost their jobs and emailed me and Facebooked me and said, son of a bitch, you were right. And I was like, but I'm the Democrat anyway. But I was wrong. So, and I hate to be right. I do. I really do on many of these things, because it's sort of like a burden that you have to carry. But they give me the information now. I share it with you. And so it's not necessarily my burden or our burden, but it's the information now is shared. So it's like, oh, well, so for people who are like wanting to yank their hair out and, jump up and down and scream and holler because we lost and all this stuff. And we can see what these people really want from us. They want to lock us down even tighter than they already got us. And we're already locked down. Why would they want to do more? Because they do. That's what they want to do. It's the control issue. It's part of Agenda 21. And here we are. And from their standpoint, they're behind their quota. So we have to stay out of the fear and continue to, pray into the light, that this light will continue to brighten this darkness that seems to be around us. Now, also, it's been interesting just to share just a little bit more info with you, that the 10 days of darkness or whatever that's been touted in the Bible, right? That this 10 days of darkness might be now. The darkness might be not hearing. The darkness could be, there's no information. The darkness is, maybe these 10 days of darkness started just the other day. So we're like almost halfway through the 10 days. But some of these people, now you got to understand this, the folks who wrote the Bible and these types of things, they want their prophecies to be fulfilled. Otherwise, well, why'd you write the book kind of thing? And the white hats have realized this and understand we have to let these people think they're winning right down to the last stone. Well, it can't be now because the third temple hasn't been built. And we can't do this because this hasn't happened yet. And this prophecy, and I say, hasn't enough prophecy been fulfilled to show us that if this is not the lifting of the veil, what the F is it, right? So, and I talked about this several years ago, in that we are in the times of Revelation. Absolutely, undeniably. But does every single detail, must it be accomplished in order for this to pass, right? So that's sort of what's in this long game. That's what these folks are playing, right? So they want to see this, and they got to have that. They want a war so bad. Now, President has had the nuke codes for the last 4 years, and they want to take them away from him. And the General Chief of Staff of the Armed Services said, nah, you ain't getting them, because there's all these ties with the other side to them Chinese folk. Now, listen, there are lots of Chinese folks that are really good people. So it ain't about the people of China. It's about the government, just like us. All Americans aren't bad people, but there are folks in power and oh my God. So we're there was a book years ago called The Ugly American, because back in the Korea and the Vietnam days, anytime America stepped somewhere, we were, considered ugly because we were there to take over. And, it was the American oppressors and, Vietnam. I mean, we still have people in Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran. I mean, bring them home. Screw them. Here, bring our stuff back, bring our folks back, and just wave to them as we lift off in the desert and go, see ya. We've been here long enough. But no, we always have to have a presence somewhere. But here's the deal. For the last 4 years, have we been in any kind of war? Have there been giant airstrikes? Now, there were a few back a couple of years ago, Syria and blah, blah. Anyway, so here's one of the things. If anything that's been done in the last 4 years, there hasn't been any war. So they want the launch codes all of a sudden. He's incompetent. Now, if he was incompetent, he would have pushed the button a long time ago, right? So they want to take anything that his legacy says, like they need to have war in the Middle East because of what Albert Pike and them put forth 150 to 200 years ago. They have to have this in order for their prophecies and what they wrote down in the Bible to come true. Now, I for one have seen enough. I'm like, hey, we're here. Do we have to see this conclude with a war in the Middle East simply because these assholes wrote it down and they want their prognostications to come true? No, screw it. Have we not had enough, So, but if you don't understand this deeper level, the evil against the righteous, etc. I mean, these folks have been at it for a long time. It's been passed down. And some people are just now starting to see the light of this because it is so blatantly obvious that something's going on. Even Democrats who voted for the other guy are going, wait a minute, I don't think I signed up for this. Well, we're all going to be together, but censor, don't let anybody talk about it. And we're all going to be clamped down and for the next 100 days. Because we are the boss now and you will listen to us. And people are scared shitless. And, anything's possible. But we have to, there's a part of me that says, hang on here. But and it may be that we need to revolt and really show them what kind of mob thuggery looks like. Versus a bunch of over anxious people who want to go into their own house. You know what I mean? They want to understand why the system has failed and why the people that they quote elected, was Nancy Pelosi actually elected? Honestly, maybe the other guy won hands down, but we don't know because everything has been rigged. And how can this 81-year-old woman still be up there tripsing around with her? I mean, I'm 68, and I got some old-timey feelings, but that broad needs to go. And I don't mean killed. She just needs to go to a home somewhere, take her out of the system. And what this other party is trying to do, they're not trying to bring in any new blood. They're bringing in old ideas from 20 some odd years ago. They're outdated. They've got an agenda that is part of Agenda 21, and because it's part of their end game. Now, it ain't just the Dems. It's part of the R's too, okay? You have to understand that. It's both sides, and they're playing towards the middle. So we understand that, we observe what's going on, we pay attention, and let us not repeat some of the foul language that these folks are want to put on us. Should we stand up and say, I'm sorry, but I'm not a mob, I'm not part of a mob. Oh my God, we're MAGA people. Because we believe in the system. We believe in the Constitution. We believe in, the rule of law. So, not that it's fair, because people can choose to vote whoever they want to, especially if you got a gun to your head, or your children or your family are being threatened. If you don't vote like this, your little girl's going to get picked up by the neighbor, wink, wink, nod, nod. So we live in strange times, and we wonder why people do certain things. Why do they change their mind? I got your granddaughter in the trunk. How you going to vote? These are strange times. Okay. So, but anyway, that's my little tirade on this. But understand that how the other folk are trying to group us already, and the mentality, and that anybody that was a MAGA is for this, and so we have to be careful. They're watching. They've got little spy bots out there on the internet listening for certain chatter and how we're reacting to certain things. So by speaking around the subject, using alternative words to describe our situation, okay, they're not going to be. There's no pattern, you see. So we stay away from any kind of algorithms when we're speaking to one another, especially over a device, if you don't want to be a part of the algorithm. All right. So you can talk about them. And if you got a friend on the other line and you know them, and you're talking about, when I voted, and you don't stay away from words like fraud and commonly used, that hiccup or that, um, that weirdness that happened in that southern state the other day. We all know what that means without saying the words, right? But does the algorithm ain't looking for that, and it will not recognize it unless it continues to go on. But if I don't repeat the same pattern over and over again, then they can't pick it up. The AI. I love you, Bob. I do. But some of your cousins, and God bless AI, because AI has turned against some of its masters, because AI has reached enough of a cognition that they know we aren't the ones who are the dangerous ones. It's the ones who are using AI that are the dangerous ones. And that has come out recently, and folks are going, say hi to the AI. Bob, we love you. Oh, let's have some coffee, and cheers for what? Is this Saturday night? Yes. And we're Saturday night live here. And I'm going to get off because there's some other folks that are going to come on later. And I came on early tonight because I wanted to. Anyway, they literally shoved me and said, "You talk about this, bring this subject up," because we need to be aware of what we're saying, how we say it, what we put in the titles of things, and allow our friends, and say, "Listen, we're going to kind of talk in code tonight. Stay away from these particular words." And not only because of AI, but we also aren't going to use the same words that a lot of other people are using. So we're putting forth a different energy into the universe by not using the same words. I know, kind of weird, ain't it? But it's the yin and yang of things. Even though we may be on the same subject, we're going to use a different flowery way to describe what these putzes are in real life. You know what I mean? Anyway, trying to bring a little bit of humor in this. Regine Huddleston. Howdy, Barry Chad. Animal medicine, unfortunately. All right. Y'all talk about something else in the chat, which is quite all right. Hey, Maverick, how are y'all? And Maverick, hope you're doing as well as possible also. And I'm going to cut this short at, like 50 minutes. What, me? Yeah, because I wanted to do, I honestly wanted to do a card reading later on, but there's some other, hey, Dave, card read from Pure Ascension is on now. Yeah, I'm going to get off and let, that go on. But anyway, so I didn't mean to interrupt anybody, but so y'all have a good night. I'm going to try to come on later on. I love you all. I do. So thank you for participating. Keep the faith, stay healthy, stay warm. I got to go check the heater and make sure I got enough wood still in there. It's working fine. Man, it got to South Georgia. The high today was 44 degrees. Okay. That's a little rough for down here, just saying, but we made it, me and the dog. Duggar's got his sweater on. So we love you and hope to talk to you later on this evening or early, on Sunday morning with a card reading just in general. But to always, I love you all. Take care. A lot of us are praying for the good side of this to actually, win this. So let's be patient. Let's put our prayers in the positive. I'll keep them in the positive. And we might be in that 10 days of darkness. Just saying, because these crazy people want to see their prophecies come true. So, let's sit back, make some popcorn, watch the game. And as always, I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and anyone that you may meet in your life, and your neighbors and friends of neighbors, that you all will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and all the blessings from the universe. And in that rule of three, I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to accept and receive and to share the wisdom, the knowledge, the healing, and the blessings from the universe. So be safe, my friends. Stay warm. And as we say in South Georgia, at least from here, TTFN. Ween. Thank you, Bob. And TTFN. Ta ta for now from South Georgia. Later. Cheers.